Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here today at Fashinnovation Worldwide Talks, especially to be in conversation with one of my very favorite people, Donna Karan. Donna, our conversation today is about the future in context of past, present, and going forward. So let's start with today. What does fashion mean today?
Fashion is dressing and addressing probably more importantly now than ever before.
So you say dressing and addressing. Mm-hmm. You have always taken a holistic view to fashion. And you've always taken, a very forward-thinking view to fashion. But explain to our audience what you mean by dressing and addressing.
You know when you go to the hairdresser and all of a sudden you talk about your mother, your father, and all of this kind of stuff? That's what happened.
A little bit of a shrink kind of an element.
It was shrink moment. Mm-hmm. The minute I'd walk into a dressing room, I'd hear the real story. And it never became about the clothes. It became about their life.
And you were talking about being in a dressing room with customers.
Yes. It was always, oh my God, I've seen you for so many looks, but you don't really look like that. Well, what do you do? And this is what I do for my face.
All right, now let's talk about that. In what context would Donna Karan be in a dressing room with a customer?
Right now, I'm in a dressing room all the time with my customer because I love the personal contact. Urban Zen for me was that time where I can really connect to the consumer. They're my friends because I was doing it for me and my friends. I see the customer, and that's what I learned from, is when what I'm putting on and what she's putting on, and I figured it all out, and I worked it all out, and now I can explain it to her, what works, what doesn't work, how do you put it all together? And I feel like I'm not still communicating the way I should be communicating, particularly now
what
with
are you
communication.
Missing?
Because I assume that this is what they see, but I know how much more I tell them and show them, because you can send out all these clothes, and until you say, well, this is how you can wear it. Like this is this. So I threw it up this way because my story is you never gain weight on your shoulders. Now, I don't care about the rest of your body.
Okay.
It is the only place. So people say to me, why the shoulders?
I was wondering how long it would take us to get to the cold shoulder. You never skip an opportunity to let me know that when
I forgot about that.
You introduced the famous cold shoulder in 90 something, and I did not review it favorably. And you have never it was a huge success, and you've never let me forget that. So talk about the cold shoulder.
The whole philosophy for me is day to night, working mother. What can I show? What can I show? Accent the positive, delete the negative. I'm very big on that. Like we were just talking about, right? Okay, this is what we got to do. How do we cut the clothes? Mm-hmm. So when I did the cold shoulder, okay, the woman's going to work. She's in a turtleneck. She's wearing her blazer, wrap and tie skirt over her bodysuit, because yogi. And I said, now she's going out. And she doesn't want to be wearing the same thing. So I gave her a little skin. Her neck wasn't still looking so hot. But her shoulder was. I cut out the shoulder. Cold shoulder.
Let's talk about that and go back to 1985 when you launched Donna Karan. And you have been, as I say, a trailblazer in terms of the sort of philanthropic approach to fashion, the citizenship approach to fashion, but also the aesthetic approach, the fashion approach to fashion. You launched with a very pragmatic aesthetic and a very sensual aesthetic. It was about body dressing. It was a very, very alluring fashion and pragmatism-based approach.
I had been doing Anne Klein. And Anne is sick with cancer. Now, were you in Versailles?
No. I wasn't there.
Okay, so it was Versailles. I was her assistant designer in Versailles.
Do you know what? May I say something? Everyone who's watching this conference may not know about Versailles. So why don't you give a little
background? Isn't that weird?
Donna.
I know. I'm showing my age again.
Let's fill in some blanks. Versailles.
Okay, Palace of Versailles, where the Americans were asked to come, the American designers were asked to come with the French designers.
It was billed as the Battle of Versailles.
It was a battle.
And it was a battle.
And it was a battle between the French and the American. Mm-hmm. And Anne was chosen as the only woman designer, and I was her assistant. There was no water. There was no heat. It was freezing. We had no backdrop. Jill, this can go on and on forever. You must see the story, because it is an amazing, amazing story. And we had Kay Thompson and Liza Minnelli.
Amazing.
However, the French had them all. Every set was more extraordinary than the next. and all the models walked out with a piece of paper with a number. We, of
The way
course,
couture used to be shown.
well, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hello, that kind of thing, with a number. Now the Americans came out, and we are downright and doing it. It was, but I had to dress Billy Blair with her arm one on the runway. I was dressing on the other side, and then she walked out on the runway this way. Now I am 8.5 months pregnant. Huge. Gabby was 10 pounds, so I was really big. And at that point, the Americans just threw on the clothes, threw off the clothes, threw on the clothes.
It was yourself and Calvin and...
It was Oscar de la
was there.
Renta, Bill Blass,
Stephen Burrows.
Halston,
Yeah.
Stephen Burrows, and Anne,
his
a
clothes were
woman
so
designer.
fabulous.
Now we're looking at, as of yesterday, we're all together.
The Versailles moment was a moment of arrival on the global stage for American fashion.
No question.
Jump 40 plus years later, and American fashion is severely challenged. Why do you think that is? And what is American fashion's place globally?
You just hit the nail on the head. It's called global. When I opened Donna Karan, I only wanted to sell 2 stores in the United States, Bergdorf's and Neiman's. That was it. Then I sold in London. Then I sold in Asia. And all of a sudden, I saw fashion as a world story, not as just a United States story. And that's why I did luggage when I was designing the clothing, because of course she's on an airplane and she's traveling. It was an internationally based fashion collection.
But you also have to think about the costs of going
Thank you.
international.
Thank you. So there comes, when I started the business, I needed more, I needed more, I needed more money and more money. And why do you go out and you start licensing and, to bring in large amounts of money? Because your fashion collection wasn't bringing in the money. It was licensing. And I will never forget this moment when my husband said to me, "You have to do fragrance." I go, "What?" He says, "We have to make fragrance." I said, "Stephen, I don't wear fragrance. I only wear oils." And he says to me, "I really don't care. We're making fragrance." And my husband made my bottles. My husband made my fragrance. In our bedroom at night, he poured the fragrance together. And I said, "Really? If it smells like my husband's neck, a
I
pair
remember you
of
saying that.
suede, it has to be vicuna suede. It has to smell like vicuna suede, my husband's neck, and a Casablanca lily. And then we'll talk about it." And then they did the fragrance. Stephen did the bottle. It looked like this, black and gold, absolutely beautiful bottle.
What you're saying, I mean, that's amazing, but you're stating a fact that many people in fashion know, that unless you have the beauty business, unless you have the fragrance business, or at least a very, very, very vibrant accessories business, it's
Calvin
almost
Klein
impossible.
underwear.
Right, it's almost impossible
I
to make
did
money
stocking.
at
People thought I was, everybody would pick up their skirts and say, "Wearing your hose." The reason I did hose is because my skirts were opening up all the time. So I figured I'd have to
hose the best.
What?
Those black opaques, the
Oh
best.
my God, they were amazing.
Yeah.
And I was so obsessed with these black opaque hose because they had to go with my bodysuit. And then I had to figure out, okay, how do I get, it was underneath the clothes what was more important than what was on top of the clothes, which today is probably the most important part of fashion.
So where does that leave aspiring designers who want to go into fashion, want to be fashion designers?
I'm very involved in Parsons School of Design, and I went to Parsons and I said, "Listen, I'm hiring all my kids from London. Why aren't I hiring them here?" Because they didn't have a graduate program. So I started the graduate program at Parsons. Then I said, we've got to teach them differently with a different headset. And at that point, I was traveling in the world and going to other places, Haiti. And we took Parsons School of Design to Haiti. And for me, these things made by the Parsons School of Design kids and the artisans of Haiti.
So they work together in making
Yes.
things.
So I created where instead of sitting in school, get out into the world. Today, I think that's the most important thing you can possibly do. We teach, they teach. We learn from them, they learn from us. All this is made in Haiti. Every single thing here I'm wearing. You go, That's Haiti?
I want to get to Haiti. I want
We
to
will
get
get to
I want to
Haiti,
get
yeah.
to the social responsibility approach to fashion. Before we do that, I want to talk about Donna Karan International. You did care about the clothes. Talk
absolutely.
about what the clothes address. Talk about in that moment of foundation when you were just determining what Donna Karan would be.
It was 7 easy pieces. It started out as a concept of 7 easy pieces. It started out with a bodysuit, my yoga practice. It started out with, what do I wear? A wrap and tie skirt. A piece of fabric was just a scarf, and I think the scarf is the most important thing any woman could have. Covers her up, plays with it, you can do it, and it's gone from a period of time, okay? Then I did a blazer, and the blazer was dedicated to my father because he was a custom tailor, and I love tailoring as well. As the body and the contradiction of black and gold and
Masculine,
body
feminine.
and masculine and feminine, exactly. Then it was the sweater and a leather jacket, suede and leather jacket, and an evening piece, which was the gold sequin wrap and tie skirt. So I took the black jersey into a long skirt, wrapped and tied it, and it went from day to evening. So you could wrap this up in a ball, put it in your bag, go to work, and then go to the Met. And you don't have to go home and change.
And how did this
And with jewelry. That was really, really important. And Robert Lee Morris came into my life. And because I was doing so much black, I needed the gold.
how did that method of dressing and addressing, how did it realize going forward?
No, I want to say how it started, because when the AIDS epidemic broke out, it was just a disaster. And I had this vision that why don't we take all our stuff, because God only knows when you walk into a design room, there's so much stuff there, you don't know what you're doing with. And they don't all go in the line. Why don't we sell it?
All right, but now we're talking about something different. Now you're talking
That was
about
seventh on sale.
Seventh on sale.
That was conscious consumerism.
Yes. All right.
So that's what led me to what I do today.
Okay, so it was actually the AIDS epidemic, and you really spearheaded the whole Seventh on Sale initiative.
I had gone to Perry Ellis and I said, Perry, we've got to do something about the AIDS epidemic. And he said to me, Donna, this is a private discussion and it is not for public discussion. And I'm losing all my friends, as he is, and unfortunately he had AIDS at the time. Perry passes away. Then Anna Winter, who I have to say that the fashion world today has been developed by Anna. And she was the spear leader in all of this. So it was Anna, myself, and Carolyn Rome. And we asked Ralph. God bless Ralph.
I remember you telling me that you wanted to ask Ralph because Ralph really had the retail experience
my
no one
God.
else had.
Ralph made that thing happen, okay? And Calvin and all the designers came, but it was European as well. You know, all the European designers came, and then it was art that was being sold, and it was fashion that was being sold, and it
Right,
was
so
the
in a
most
way,
amazing
in
moment in my
retrospect
life.
now, everyone's talking about in
Conscious
the environment,
consumerism.
conscious consumerism, and upcycling and reissuing. People took back stock and back things and sold.
That's
right,
right.
and that was really, it's funny. I hadn't thought of that
To some-
moment in the context of now
That's
and how
right.
forward thinking it was.
That's right. These clothes don't ever go out. Yes, there's additions. And sometimes hemlines go up, and sometimes hemlines go down, and sometimes they get bigger, and sometimes they get smaller. But I find that most people say to me that they have been wearing my clothes from the beginning. And I would say that about as Calvin and Ralph as well.
You have always been one to try to bring the industry together. Did you start to see your role as that of, sort of an industry organizer?
I never thought of myself that way. I do everything personally. What I feel from my heart, what I see. Why do I do what I do? It talks to me. I can't explain it, and I'm not getting too woo-woo for you right now, but it's not a thought process.
So
I see a problem, I see a solution. I see problems, I see solutions.
And on one hand, you saw this tremendous opportunity for fashion to address the AIDS crisis, and that was a tragedy that impacted so many people and continues to. But you saw that sort of that was a heart thing.
It was conscious consumerism, that you're buying something with a reason and a purpose.
But then on the other hand, there's a very pragmatic approach to organization. We're delivering too early, we're marking down too early. So it's not just, it wasn't, you sort of had this balance going on.
Well, there were the two issues that I still today stand for. One is conscious consumerism and having a reason to buy something with a purpose and to repurpose however you want to do it. And buy now, wear now. Buy now, wear now was my flame that drove me to who I am today. When I used to go into the stores and see in the summer shearling coats and fur shoes, and then I'd go in January when the snow would come and it's all little silk dresses hanging around, I'm going, and we're all on sale. And I'm going, wait a second, who are we talking to? And then unfortunately, what really got me upset is when we were showing the consumer the fashion shows. So the consumer is buy now, wear now. They see it online, they want to buy it. Guess what? That was a fashion show. Guess what? It's not available for another 6 months. Guess what? All the people are going to come in, knock it off, get it for cheap and deep, which is identically, way back in the time was the white sheet business. And in the white sheet business, nobody would buy sheets at regular price because they knew they would be marked out.
Now you've been on this for almost as long as I've known you. 5 years ago, the industry came around to try buy now, wear now. It basically failed. Certainly at the designer and luxury level, it didn't take hold at all.
You know why? Because we're an international world right now. We're not only New York, and buy now, wear now is an American thing. Unfortunately, the European mindset, because what they show on the runway isn't exactly what's in the stores half the time. So what we showed on the runway was what went into the stores.
People are not discussing fashion in the way that they used to. So how do you sort of get across the design element at Urban Zen?
When people see it, they want it. I think it's a feel and touch experience.
Okay, so let me stop you there because we are talking that, a feel and touch experience. You are talking about a physical retail experience. We are here in this beautiful space, and downstairs you have the Urban Zen store. So you still believe in physical retail?
Absolutely. But I don't believe it about me, me, me. I believe it's the we. It's collective groups getting together with a point of view that we can all do this together. And it could be really, really exciting, for crying out loud, that it's not only the name Donna Karan, the name Ralph, or whatever the name. We are a we community in fashion. When I walked into 7th on Sale, when I walked into Super Saturday, because then after 7th on Sale, we created Super Saturday for 20 years for Elizabeth Tabaris when she had cancer and my husband.
And it was a benefit for ovarian cancer, correct?
That's correct. Yes. And we started that in the Hamptons. It was the most exciting thing because it was everything. The children went to the playground. There was an eating experience. There was a clothing experience. There was a meditation experience. Okay. Why can't we have experiential? And that's what clubs are becoming about, that you don't have to go away to experience it.
So how do you translate that weekend-long experience in which it's in the Hamptons and it's beautiful and it's for an amazing cause and everyone's happy and wants to be there? How do you translate that?
Here in the city?
Not only here in the city, but not in a confined weekend.
You know all those empty stores that we're dealing with on Madison Avenue?
Yeah.
You put those stores together and you'll have an experience on Madison Avenue. It needs to be done. There is not even a question in my mind that we have to rethink, re-experience. You're going to go out right now. What are you going to do? Walk into a clothing store? How boring is that?
And you think that the customer can be lured back? You think the customer can be lured back?
So if it's happening, why are people eating outside? Loving it.
I used to loathe eating outside. I've become such a fan.
Oh,
I love it.
Completely.
But part of it is the human contact.
The tent.
That's the big thing, yeah.
But the tent is great. I mean, I thought about this originally when I took my corner store on Madison Avenue. My dream was to have outdoor dining on the street, which they pushed me up to the second floor, which I wasn't too happy about.
But it was charming up there, though. That was really nice.
Because people were talking, they were drinking there, and what happened in London at Donna Karan? The same thing at DKNY.
You're talking about this collaborative effort on Madison Avenue, which would be a rather large collaborative effort. But then Urban Zen is small and intimate.
No. Urban Zen is very much a part of a collaborative effort. It's sitting down here. When you see my holiday market, I'm bringing in products from designers and artisans all over the world. That's Urban Zen. You know, that experiential part. People come here, they talk, they laugh, and then you can have dinner here. So it's a private club.
Okay, so Urban Zen started obviously with a fashion component.
Fashion was the last thing it really became. This was a space and a place where people would come together to create change. His Holiness the Dalai Lama was here, and we had the 10-day discussion on healthcare. Then everybody said, okay, Donna, where are the clothes?
So you were originally intending to get into a whole other area beyond fashion.
Absolutely. It was always the consciousness of what was happening out there in the world. The whole point of the Urban Zen Integrative Therapist, which was a 10-day forum on where is the care in healthcare, today is still actively involved of putting that person that's needed, who is caring for the patient, who is caring for the loved one. It's like a doula. And my husband said to me before he died, Donna, whatever you do, you take care of the nurses. So with that was the Urban Zen Integrative Therapist program.
That is so salient a point, especially now within the picture of COVID. That Stephen said that to you was amazing. Explain briefly what exactly it is.
Urban Zen Integrative Therapist is somebody who is trained in bed yoga, Reiki, aromatherapy, meditation, nutrition, and end-of-life care. And there are special people that teach all of these people. Rodney Yee and Colleen Seidemann started it with me. They were my yoga teachers. And I said, but we need all of this to combine because we have to find restorative practices.
Okay, so where do these people go out to? And
They're in hospitals. So it started out at Beth Israel Hospital. It's not alternative medicine, it's integrated medicine. And that's where we're at today. And the consumer knows that.
Okay.
They are integrative people today.
All right. How did you circle this back to having clothes at Urban Zen and to fashion?
So then what they said to me, and of course when I went to the hospital, they said, well, Donna, will you redesign the nurses' uniforms and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no. I said, I will redesign the care and healthcare, but not the uniforms. And until I do that, will I design the uniforms. Meanwhile, Parsons School of Design does great jobs at doing that.
How much did Stephen's illness impact this whole process and the development of this program?
It was very funny. When Stephen was still alive, that's when the vision came to me. And I came to the studio one day and I said, honey, you think you can find another place to work? I have this idea. He said, could you wait till I leave? I said, no, I really need your space right now. But I mean, the humor that I have with okay, what we're talking about today is everything my husband was speaking of. And I wish, you have to connect the dots. There was a dot, a dot, a dot, a dot, a dot. And out of all these dots, we connected and create that which is needed. And that's how he worked. And you're a dot, I'm a dot. But if we don't connect, there is nothing. And that's what we're dealing with today, is the connecting of the dots. And I believe the world can be connected as dots.
Let's go now to a more global context. Almost a little more than 4 years ago, we had a conversation. You and Norma Kamali were about to receive special awards from the CFDA. The three of us had a wonderful conversation at your apartment uptown. And one of the things we talked about, it was May 2016, we talked about the upcoming presidential election. But we could not possibly have imagined what these past 4 years would be. And yet the past 4 years have impacted, every aspect of life, business included. Now that President Joe Biden is in office, do you see a shift that will impact fashion, and if so, how?
I can't blame the political issues for what has happened in fashion only. You have to look at the virus, which has definitely hit it.
And fashion was troubled before the virus and before the Trump presidency.
Thank you. Fashion was in trouble. I have to say, I saw that. It wasn't a president who's going to change fashion. That's not going to happen. We, the people, have to be the changers of it. We, the people, have to deliver a product that the consumer wants. We, the people, have to create something in a way of communication that we're going to change the way the customer. And look, at today when they said, and I've seen it before, when you see these virtual things and they take you through the store now and they show you your body in front of a mirror. No, thank you. I don't want to see it that way. But then again, this brings me back, and I have to say it. Stephen, when Donna Karan first opened, he brings in this computer and he brings in all the designers. And he says to me, Donna, I want to show you how easy it's going to be now. How we're going to make stripes, patterns, everything. You're going to put the colors on a computer. You're not going to sit there and color them by yourself. You're not going to do that. And all my designers were there, and we looked at him and we said, what, are you crazy? I mean, he's like, sorry, I love you very much, honey, back to work. And that's when he showed us the computer. Then he said, and let me ask you, when you're photographing your fashion show, why is your camera going this way? And I see all these people in the audience. I see Bridget and everybody sitting there writing their notes. All I want to see is the clothes. Take the camera and turn it north to south.
Makes sense.
He was so smart and so ahead of the time. What is going to happen has been created already. Mm-hmm. We haven't synced with it yet. Mm-hmm. We're not aware of it. I don't want to lose the feel and touch and the smell and all of that. You're saying it, how we haven't touched each other. We haven't felt each other. Fabric, what does it feel like? I mean, they show me so many, pardon the expression, fabrics that are the right fabrics to use right now. I wouldn't put it on my body. It doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's that point of knowing how we have to put the two together. Mm-hmm. No question. We have more stuff here than we know what to do with.
Absolutely.
Recycled, no question about it. All right. There's no reason why not to recycle.
So there are people who will buy, 3 different versions or 3 different sizes and then send it back. I mean, there are people who reject physical retail now.
I think you have to know your consumer, and you have to know who you're talking to. And I'm not saying that I think there's a time where who are you? What are you addressing? What are you addressing? Not thinking that this is the way everybody does it, because everybody was showing then. If you think of Azzedine Alaïa, he was saying, excuse me, I'm doing it my way or the highway. And he chose to do it that way.
I want to go back to one thing. I think 1992, I might be off on the year, you and Peter Lindbergh did this quite wonderful campaign.
In Women We Trust.
With Rosemary McGrath, in Women We Trust.
I sent it to Hillary last year.
Did you?
Saying, okay, I was a little early, but thank God.
Now, was it a little, did you think, she didn't win. Did you think maybe I shouldn't have sent it to Hillary?
Nope. Because she was out there. And
just for people who may not know what we're talking about, you did this campaign in which
running for president.
Right, and being sworn in.
The part of this that I love the most that I don't think people are aware of, yes, I was doing the night before, I was doing a different ad campaign. And I called Peter Arnell and I said, Peter, oh my God, I got it. It's a woman running for president. This is the night before.
The night before, I didn't know that.
The night before we were ready to shoot this. The night before we were ready to shoot this, the other one, and please help me, it was a long tape with Betty Davis saying there, don't mess with me, fellas. Oh, yeah. Right? Because I was doing a strong woman's dress. It was, don't mess with me, fellas. And I said, no, Peter, it's better than that. I got this idea. She's got to run for president. So he made that happen in one night. He brought it to Florida to bring out that campaign. I don't know how he did it. It was genius.
All right, so now going from there, we talked about, another creative project may be a television project, the Donna Karan story. You would like it to be a documentary as opposed to scripted television.
Absolutely.
Why?
I want it to be truthful. I want it to be honest. I think that you don't have to make it up. Did that really happen? Or did that really happen? You don't have to make it up.
A lot happened.
You don't have to make it up. Happened. I mean, I never wanted to be a designer. I wanted to sing like Barbra Streisand and dance like Martha Graham. And here I am.
Minor goals, but look at what you...
That's all I wanted to do.
Can't sing, can't dance, but look at you.
and all I do, and that's where the bodysuit came from, Martha Graham.
All right, let me ask you this, though. Let's finish. Do you think about Donna Karan's legacy, or are you too busy thinking about
Totally.
what's next?
There are so many things that I haven't done. There are countries that I haven't seen, people I haven't seen, that just touch my heart and what I can do. I don't want to be in charge of, I want to be the inspiration for. Does that make sense? I want to inspire.
Quite beautiful. That sounds quite beautiful.
I want to be an inspiration to have the manifestations done by the collective conscious.
That sounds like a great place to end, the collective conscious. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our conversation at Fashinnovation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.